It is 5 o'clock, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials, and streaming audience. Welcome to the April 22nd, 2025 City Council special meeting. We're meeting at 26 South Paint Street, Chiillicothe, and I'd ask first that we have a motion to have a temporary clerk for the evening to replace Kennedy, since Kennedy couldn't be here. Motion by Ms. Bennett. Is there a second to that motion? Motion by Mr. Creed. The clerk will call the roll.
Bennett.
Here.
Barnes.
Here.
McKeever.
Here.
DeMint, not here. Creed.
Here.
Preston.
I'm going to take that as a vote on allowing her to act as clerk and also on the attendance roll. And at this point in time, I would ask for a motion to excuse Ms. Payne, Mr. DeMint, and Mr. Prohl. I know Dustin has some trouble getting here at 5 sometime, but we'll go ahead and ask for a motion to excuse them. Motion by Mr. Barnes, second by Mr. Creed, and the clerk will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
They are excused. I would now ask Mr. McKeever to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The minutes from our last regular meeting are not ready. They'll be ready for the next regular meeting. So we'll move on. We have reports of committees, but for this evening, since this is a special meeting and there hasn't been a lot happen between, I'm just going to ask if any of the chairpersons have anything to update in terms of any of their committees. Mr. Creed?
Yes, Safety Service Committee. So we have one thing on the agenda tonight. That's the ordinance approving the modification of the proposed roadway plans for the road network. Changes in and around Chiillicothe Park as part of the Appalachian Community Grant Program. I talked last time at the meeting about the cost of modifying Tristler Road versus eliminating it. To modify the road and bring it into the roundabout is going to cost approximately $850,000 per our construction manager at risk. To eliminate the road and turn that back into green space is about $50,000. So there's about an $800,000 difference to keep that road. And it would also include removing at least 27 mature trees. So at this time, any discussion on that from anybody else, I guess, as far as how you guys feel about that? Or I can I'll make a motion that 6B, that we change that to remove Tristler Road from east of Enderlin Circle to the entrance to the Armory.
Is there a second to the motion? Second by Ms. Bennett. Is there any further discussion on that particular issue? If not, I would ask the clerk to call the roll relative to the amendment.
Bennett.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes. And that concludes my report.
The amendment is adopted, and are there any other reports from any of the committees at this point?
Yes, President Shoemaker, I resubmitted for nonprofit, the NAMI. They redid their proposal, and it's at the law directors now. So that might be on our next agenda.
Thank you. Any further reports from the committees? Mr. McKeever?
Thank you, President Shoemaker. The most recent committee report or assignment has been sent to the law director's office and reviewed, and they forwarded me an attachment to review, and I'll present that at the next committee meeting for approval and to be moved on to the next full council.
And which item is that you're referring to?
20. It was. Let me. 25. I believe it was 25026. I believe was the assignment number. It was an ordinance to amend 911.16.06 B1 of the codified ordinance. That was from Utilities Committee.
Thank you. Any further committee reports? Hearing none. Well, and seeing that we don't have any of the elected officials here this evening for this discussion, we'll move to audience participation. Any person wishing to address the council must first provide his or her name and address. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. And I'll give you a warning when there is 1 minute remaining. So anyone who would like to address, please step up and push the button there with the microphone. Well, it's helpful to people.
Does that work?
That's
Okay.
good.
'Cause
Thank
I
you
can't
so
hear
much.
from out here. My name's Jackie York. I live at 10 Kearsley Place here in Chiillicothe. I also have a business at 250 Park Street, a step back in time, antiques and collectibles and more. What I'd like to talk about is this roundabout at Mill and Chiillicothe. I know this isn't a lot of signatures, but I didn't have a whole lot of time since that last review meeting up there at the Service Center. I have 75 signatures here. There is another petition out somewhere. They were supposed to be here, Chuck Wiley over at the body shop. And Mr. DeLong is here. We are all against this roundabout. It's not safe. You've got a street light down there at High Street. When it turns red, people coming around this way is going to back up. What I want to say is, I worked at the prison and retired from there. And when they come in there and tried to privatize, they said Michigan did this, Michigan did that. I said, we aren't Michigan. We aren't any other city. What works for other cities may not work for us. And I don't believe these roundabouts are good in that we don't have that high of a traffic area. I asked for the statistics of accidents and things. I didn't get that. Did you guys put a counter across to find out how many cars go by there an hour, a day, a month? You know, that kind of thing. I don't think this warrants a roundabout. It's not that high of a traffic area. And it is a school. And you've got the YMCA. You've got Mill Street up there. The kids walk down there. You've got the little daycare down on High Street across from or across from Papa John's Pizza. You've got the YMCA. I don't want this. I think it's the craziest thing in the world. You can take that money and you can put it into that Enderlin Circle instead of whatever. You know, put your money somewhere else instead of the roundabout. I mean, like I said, here's the petition. If y'all would like to look at it, you're more than welcome to have it. I've got another one that's coming up. I don't know where he's at. He was supposed to be here. He had a second one. But please reconsider this roundabout at Mill and Chiillicothe. We do not need it. I've lived in this town 69 years. I've lived here all of my life. And we don't need it. Please consider taking it out, doing away with it, and spending your money somewhere else for better than a road. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I'll try to be brief. My name's James DeLong. I own First Group Realty, and my building's right on the corner of Chiillicothe Mill and Park Street. And it just so happens anybody wants to come visit my office, my desk is in the back corner there, and when I sit behind my desk for the last 17 years, I look out that window and I see more than half of that intersection and people walking down it every day. From kids, just like she said, up there on Mill Street now, the elementary's up there. They start taking the kids to the park. It's springtime. I was there Saturday afternoon, stopped in for a minute. The guy across the street, he had 3 little kids. They were probably 4 years old, maybe 1, 5. all with ice cream cones to the Dairy Queen, heading down there. I don't see how he could control watching that when cars are not going to have to stop. They're used to having a light there. Okay, I've seen some wrecks over the years, maybe where somebody ran a yellow light, and one time the lights weren't synchronized right, which probably has got to do with about 2 or 3 wrecks before they would fix it. But anyway, Chuck Wiley knows it at Perfection Plus. I know he was trying to get here, but they told him it was over behind the courthouse, so he might be lost. But she said a lot about what I already said. The problem of it is I'm worried about the pedestrian safety. That is not a high traffic area. I'm not against roundabouts. I can think of some better places in Chiillicothe to do it. My daughter lives down by Lebanon. They've got them, but they don't have people walking all around this roundabout. There's no sidewalks. There's nobody walking where they're at, and the traffic keeps on moving. It's like she said, they did put in some places where there was stop signs, on all 4 corners. Kind of like what they did down here at the Paint and Second, which is kind of a mess. Half the time, no one knows who to go next. Well, that kept traffic flowing in them places, but they don't have all these people walking. And we're talking about a swimming pool this summer, kids on bikes. I watched all these people for years. I think that, I hate to say it, but someone's going to get hurt if they put this in. That's just my opinion. I thought I need to tell somebody because I've been right on that corner more than anybody probably here watching that with as many hours as I worked in that office. Thanks.
Just for the record, your address.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 280 Yoctangi Parkway.
Thanks. Anyone else?
So, Lindsay Fasselt, 176 West Water Street. I am probably going to be seen as like the anti-roundabout queen. I get it. But this is probably the most disorganized, and you guys have been handed this in an unfair way. The community has not really had a full say in what's going on. You guys are picking up the pieces of the lack of leadership in our community. And the most that I've heard from in the 3rd Ward is the chaos, the miscommunication, the lack of communication, and the fact that, Jeff, when we talked, we're looking at the original part of how this started was a grant for the entranceway to the park for what we're trying to create as a beautiful space. So I get everybody's going to like something and dislike something else. But there's no communication. Everything is last minute. You guys have to have a last minute meeting to pick up the pieces. There aren't pictures for people to see. There aren't maps for people to look at. There's a lack of communication of what's going on around people's houses and neighborhoods and streets coming through. When we moved here 2 years ago, we had people standing on our street counting cars, and they couldn't even tell us why. Well, now I know why. But it's really discouraging moving into a town and the lack of communication that's going on. And I ask you guys right now, I know you're in a push to get this money spent in the best way possible, but you're spending it poorly. There is no defined plan, and to vote on something in pieces so that we can get something together, so that we can spend money, I think is inappropriate, unprofessional, and it's poorly done. And you guys need to table this for a little bit longer, and you need to hear from the whole community and give the community the voice, because it's beyond just us as the adults. It's our kids that are going to have to sit here in 10 and 15 years and clean up the mess that has been trying to be cleaned up since the 70s, and do it right and once, and then we can let it be. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Ed Kunselman, 5 Oakwood Drive in the city. That was a good job. Stole a little thunder. Problem is, there hasn't been community input in this whole thing. And I have 1,000 questions. I started writing them down, and I thought, what exactly are you doing to the armory? And what's going to happen to the amphitheater? How big is it? How much does it cost? What is the stage set like to accommodate what? An orchestra? One person with a guitar? How is it constructed? How does it actually look in a drawing, not a perspective? Then there's the whole rest of that corner of the park. That's the southeastern corner of the park. It's been a dump. It's been used in every kind of terrible way. It's never been a benefit of the park. And there's an opportunity here to turn that into something magnificent that everybody will like. I paid for the first drawing way back before any of this started with the same architect, landscape architect that the city later used in the Riverside Park plan. And it used some features in that side of the park past the amphitheater, which were water features. That was our river. We built the town on a river. And we got a river that nobody can see unless they happen to be runners on the flood wall. There's an opportunity there to create something fabulous. Study some parks. You're worried about driving through the park? You know, you can drive through Central Park in New York City. There's nothing wrong with driving through the park. You're changing things right now that you're going to have at the very luckiest for you, a 50-50 argument on whether that should be one lane or two-way street by the lake. I go there a lot. It's a peaceful place. It's a place for kids to run around. It's almost like putting a two-way street through the playground for the kids. That makes no sense. The way the park works with the road coming off of Paint Street, and nobody knows the names of these parks. When you blurt out the names of these parks and we're going to change this named road, nobody uses those names. So they don't, if you don't have a map and you don't show people what you're doing, they don't understand what you're saying. You're about to cut off something that's very important. In the 1990s plan that citizens put together, they did the same thing. They cut it off. And they had so much negative reaction that they threw the whole plan away and didn't do the amphitheater that they had designed. This is dangerous, what you're doing. The whole west side of the park, the existing lake, and the road along the lake as a one-way road, and the road that comes off of Paint Street and back up on Mill is perfectly fine. You can make it a little better, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. And then you got a whole lot of money to spend in other parts, because the kind of landscaping I'm talking about in the southeastern part of the park with water features and bridges. I passed out some pictures from the same landscape architect. That would be really expensive. And you know what? You're designing some things that are just for some people to use once in a while. I think you're building a very large farmer's market. And if that farmer's market is going to be like the one we have now, it's not going to be used all the time, all year round and all week long. The part I'm talking about could be used by anybody in the community. Old, young, East End, West End, peaceful, old people, young people. It's a serenity part of the park that adds to the only part we have now, which is along the existing lake. Please don't screw that up. And you're going at this piecemeal. We don't know how much the amphitheater costs or what it looks like. We don't know what you're doing. It's already been changed 3 times in that southeastern part of the park. I came in with a plan for a water feature and some little bridges, and they replaced it with a pump track. Can somebody tell me exactly what a pump track is? It was very large. It's really a good in thing. You're the one that will know it.
Oh, pump track is basically just kind of like it's like a hilly, a track that mountain bikers and bikers can use.
Yeah.
It's just like a circular thing they can just
really
keep running
good.
around.
And next to that, they had a skateboard track. where I was trying to design this beautiful part of the park. There has not. No, I'll get out of the way. You're taking this on piecemeal. You're going to make a few mistakes. I think you finally almost figured out the surrounding streets. I know that's all the council, but the inside of the park, you're going to say how much it costs and how many trees go out, and compared to what? What are the other pieces in the parts, and what do they cost? And there are people in the community that care deeply about this. You could put together a couple of community groups, one from the downtown, who are the people closest to it, another one from people in the East End, another one from the people who deal with tourist information. Bring together a few of the leaders in these different areas and get some more input. So I'll quit. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Thacker. I live at 990 Columbus Street, apartment 307, Chiillicothe, East Sider. I have been involved in some iteration of this process from beginning when it was Choose Chiillicothe or the comprehensive plan. A lot of these things are a result of those plans. I think I see some faces I recognize with, and then you're coming here and saying that you haven't been part of the process. I believe that is false. You have been. We just maybe made decisions that were contrary to what you want. Now we can argue about those, but don't argue and say that you have not been involved. That's not true. I think everybody here has been to some extent, except perhaps some people that haven't lived here. I can remember going to the comprehensive plan meetings in several different places and contributing in different ways. Perhaps some of you did as well. I'm not a cheerleader for the city exactly, but they don't get everything right. But we can argue about the separate portions of this plan but agree that at least we have had input into the process. I think that would be the fair thing to say if we are being honest. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If there's no more audience participation, is there any old business? We only have the two items that we can discuss tonight because this is a special meeting and we sent out a particular notice from the mayor's office, so we are limited to those items. Petitions and correspondence. We did get correspondence from some folks who didn't like the way that the traffic's being regulated out on Pawnee, and we got letters both ways. Some people wanted more calming items out there, and some wanted less. So I'll just say that because we did get that correspondence, even though that's not before us tonight. Is there any new business to come before the council tonight? Hearing none, we're going to move to the reading of ordinances and resolutions. And as I mentioned, it's only two, and it's a second reading on each of those. So there'll at least be one more reading unless there is some reason for us to have another meeting between now and next Monday, but I don't believe that'll be the case. So we're going to have these two items, and I'll have the clerk read the items, and we will go from there.
The first item on the agenda is a second reading of an ordinance approving the modification of proposed roadway plans for the road network changes in and around Youghtangy Park as part of the Appalachian Community Grant Program, ACGP.
That ordinance will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
The second item on the agenda is an ordinance appropriating $96,000 to pay for the demolition of 6 houses within the city that have been damaged by fire.
That ordinance will move to the next agenda. With that, unless there's any other business to come before the council, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion adjourned by Ms. Bennett. There's a second? Second by Mr. Barnes. The clerk will call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
We are adjourned.